For many years, crooked Chicago Bears defensive tackle Akiem Hicks has haunted Minnesota Vikings fans' nightmares. It's like, hey, if you got kids, eat your vegetables. Otherwise, Akiem Hicks is going to show up and haunt your dreams, man. It's like, mommy, I can't sleep. Akiem Hicks is under the bed. He's been a nightmare. He's been a boogeyman. And the things that he's done to Garrett Bradbury on national television, oh boy. Yeah, not so much. But he's a free agent, and now the Minnesota Vikings could use a little bit of help. A bunch of guys with some experience in a 3-4, maybe some guys with experience with Ed Donatel, just like Akiem Hicks. Would love to see it, man. And CBS Sports put this out in the universe like, hey, Akiem Hicks, one time. That's not the slide. There we go. 2022 NFL free agency matchmaker, Cody Bennjamin over there, blah, 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 blah. So he projects Akiem Hicks to the Vikings. Woo! Projected terms, 1 year, $9 million, converting to a 3-4 defense under new coordinator Ed Donatel. The Vikings would welcome an NFC North rival who can plug the gaps and just so happens to have a Pro Bowl history alongside Donatel from their time in Chicago. I think that it would make a ton of sense. Also, Mike Pettin, the new assistant head coach, was in Chicago last year with Akiem Hicks, so just more connections going on there. And Hicks has had a really interesting career where he's 32 years young, where I still think he's got some decent football left in him. And he was a 2012 third-round pick by the Saints out of Regina. Awesome. Played his rookie deal with the Saints. Spent a year in New England, 2015. Remember, New England had Akiem Hicks and Chandler Jones on the same defense, and they didn't keep either of them. Is what it is. Went to the Bears in 2016. He's been there for the last 6 seasons. Career 387 tackles, 40.5 sacks. Made the Pro Bowl for the Bears in 2018. Finished and is just finishing now a 4-year, $48 million extension. Dealt with injuries last year, but yeah. You could say 2019, 2021 has been some injury issues. But, of course, last year he came back Monday Night Football against the Vikings and then got 2 sacks on Kirk Cousins. Like, hey, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to do these things. Oh, I'm playing Garrett Bradbury. I feel great, man. I feel awesome. And Spotrac. So Bennjamin estimated his deal 1 year, $9 million. Spotrac calculated his market value at $5.5 million a year. Now, age and being a very solid defensive interior draft class, I think certainly factors in. Also, pending on what the Vikings do, clearing up that cap space, which we've outlined before, that the Vikings could do restructures, they could kick the can, they could do a lot of things where they can still be viable in free agency. And looking at the depth, if the Vikings do part ways with Michael Pierce, which is one way to free up some cap space, Akiem Hicks would make a ton of sense where he can play nose in certain packages. He can play 5-tech, he can play 3-tech, he can play all along the defensive line, and he would be sexy as hell. But could you imagine a world where they keep Michael Pierce, they find money elsewhere, and your starting 3 in base along the defensive line is Pierce, Tomlinson, and Akiem Hicks. And they got Daniil as a stand-up outside linebacker just doing gross things. I would be down for it. I would absolutely be down for it. So even though I know Akiem Hicks is headed towards the end of his career, and there's a reason why that the Bears aren't keeping one of their great players over the last couple of seasons, I think that the Vikings could still get the last little bit out of his career, out of his football talent in defense, where he's going to be very familiar with a coaching staff that he does have some ties to, and he can still wreak havoc in the NFC North for the Vikings for a change. And also, he gets to practice against Bradbury twice or every single day. So you love that, as opposed to just playing him twice a year. And for that, we thank you. But your thoughts are our thoughts. CBS Sports projects Akiem Hicks to the Vikings, ? Would love to see it, man. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.